ladies did not disdain these pagan iron times of the first city, cold after the ugliest Donadoon, when a frond was a friend and end to carry as earwigs do their deed, their soil to the earth bowl, where in death they when shall calm decline our legacy unknown. Venuses would giglibly tempt at tricks, fill cans, guffawably eruptions, and the whole waves whirled frockfuls of fickles. Fact, any human in yon yo liked any year noon or after would take your bear godkin out, or an even pair of him lugadu, and prettily pray with him or with them even. Every he to a taste long for luck, tapet and tap Peter and tap test of all tip. Well should woo and will should win, but how the dear knowed when should marry. Arbor, bucket room, caravan ditch, coaches, carriage, wheelbarrow, donkey cart. Kate Strong, a widow, tip, she pulls a line picture for us in a dearie old drama setting, glowing and very visual, of old Dunplan as she knows it, in a homely cottage of elven stone, with droppings of biddies, stinking pushies, mogies, doggies, rotten which are wobbles, festering rubbages and beggars' bullets, if not worse, sending salmofarious germs in gleefully through the smithereen panes. Widow Strong then, as her weaker had turned her to the wall, tip did most all the scavenging from good King Hamburg's goblin Dean through her lean bosom cleaned but sparingly, and her bare statement reads that, there being no macadamia's side tracks of those old new necropolitan nights in, barring a footbatter, Bryant's Causeway bordered with speedwell, white clover and sorrel, or woodnose, which left off being beaten where the plaintiff was struck, she left down as scavengers, who will be scavengers must, her filth dumped near the Serpentine in Fornix Park, at her time called Finewell's Keep Sacra, but later Tau Tost Pat's Purge, that Dangerfield circling Butterswood, where fireworker O'Flaherty engaged a nutter of Castle Mallards and Ach for Arkerston's Turk all over, which fossil footprints, bootmarks, finger cerns, elbow dints, breech balls, A.S.O. were all successfully traced of a most involving description. What subtler time place of the world than such wolves barely cast through to will hide a leaper from Thursman's brandy hands, or a love letter lustfully hers that would be lost on Mar. And then when runctions ended, then here where race began, and by four hands of forethought the forced babe of reconcilement is laid in its last cradle, of whom, sweet home, give over it, and no more of it, so pass the pick for child's sake. Amen. For here Ohio sprak from Christianians, as for Propagnana fiddies and his nuptial eagles sharpen their beaks of prey, and every mortal man of us, pum by pum, feels back in this terrain, as it was let it be, says he, and it is as though where Agni Ara flammed, and Mithra monished, and Shiva slew, as Mare Mutras the obluvial waters of our Noachic memory withdrew windly, go harksome to some hasty swasti timberman torch priest, flamment fan wait the ward of the wind that lighted the fire that lay in the wood that drove bolt at his rude word. Posidonius o fluctari, live that buddy stone as it has. What are you doing, you dirty minx, and his big 3-block way up your path? Slip around you by the rear of the ministers, and you take that barrel back where you got it, McSheens, and go the way your old one went Hatchetsbury Road, and gish, how they gushed away the penny fares, a whole school for scamper with their sashes flying sish behind them, all the litty pearly pet Izzy La Chapelle. Any lunkins, please? Yes, the viability of Vinincils is invisible if invincible, and we are not trespassing on his corns either. Look at all the plotch. Flaminian, if this was Hannibal's walk, it was Hercules' work, and 100,000 of the unemancipated slaved away. The mausoleum lies behind us, O Adigasta multipopulipata, and there are milestones in their cheat mills faltering along the trim struck by Brahm and Anton Hermes, per omnibus secula secularum. Amen. But the past has made us this present of a redder road, so, O my brother O'Connell, though rainy hidden your rhino hide, and if he's not a Romeo, you may scallop your hat. Where up under in the fane of Saint Fiacre, halte. It was hard by the house there, plainly on the disallowed and the book and cold spot the rupestric then resurfaced that now is, that literal soul of literal bought in the saddle of the Brennans, now miles past place, past verts and verts from true civilization, not where his dreams top trump their trolls halt, beneath there, but where you live yon John tide mirrored with the wild, salt lit with flood, that the Atalacra Kropatkin through under medium and between colours with truly native pluck, engaged the adversary who had more in his eye than was less to his leg, but for whom plunder's sake he mistook in the heavy rain to be Oglethorpe or some other Ginkus. Parr, apparently, to whom the head and heelless chicken steg bore some Michelangelo-esque resemblance, making use of the sacrilegious languages to the defect that he would challenge their hemispheres to exterminate them, but he would canonize the B-Y-B-R's life out of him, and lay him out contritely as smart as the B-R had his B-Y night prayers said. The Paternoxters and a couple of Helly Murrays, tutte sacre per un sacre fame babe nochis, at the same time, so as to plug well let the bubbly whale goats out of him, catching holst of an oblong bar he had and with which he usually broke furniture, he rose the stick at him. The border incident pre-repeated itself. The pair, whether they were Nipo Luno engaging Veiling Tiao or Razikias trying to reconnoitre the general Bukilef, man may not say, struggled apparently for some considerable time, the cradle rocking equally to one and oppositely from the other on its law of capture and recapture, under the all-in rules around the book safe, fighting like Purple Top and Tipperun de Swede, sacramented servius of the divine zeal. And in the course of their tussle, the taller man, who had opened his bully bowl to beg, said to the miner who was carrying a worm, a handy term for the portable distillery, which consisted of 3 vats, 2 jars, and several bottles, so we purpose to say nothing of the stiff, both parties having an interest in the spirits. "Let me go, Porthine, I hardly knew ye." Later on, after the solistatial pause for refreshment, the same man, or a different and younger him of the same ham, asked in the vernacular of a very ugly chew-chin grin, "Was 6 Victorios 15 pigeon take ye off a you till he me strong fella by pickety-pockety 10 to the foul mouth behind the side?" There were some further called da banter and severe tries to convert for the best part of an hour, and now a wooden affair in the shape of a Webley. We at once recognise our old friend Ned of so many ill or temperate letters, fell from the intruder who, as stuck to that mouse in that tube of that chaste church organ, did the image of the girl cloud pensive float above them light young charm in ribbons and pigtail, whereupon became friendly, and, saying not to tear his shirt, wanted to know, laying all joking and knob-neck kerries aside, if his change companion, who stuck still to the invention of his strong-box, with the tenacity corroborating their mutual territorial rights, happened to have the loot's change of a £10 crickler about him at that moment, addling that hap so he would pay him back the 6 Vicks odd, do you see, out of that for what was taken on the man of samples last Uni or Yuli. Do you follow me, Campt? To this other, Biddy with the bool, who had mummed and mauled up to that, for he was hesitancy carried to excelsicism, rather amusedly replied, "Oh, would you be grossly surprised, Hill, to learn that, as it so happens, I honestly have no such thing as the loo, at the least chance of a tin-pan crackler anywhere about me at present moment, but I believe I can see my way, as you suggest, it being Yuletide or Yundansfest, and as it's mad nuts, son, for you when it's hat as hares, mon for me to advance you something like 4 and 7 pence between hopping and trapping, which you might just as well have." Boy vouches to buy JJ and S with... There was a minute's silence before memory's fire rekindled, and then, heart alive, which at the very first wind of gay and whiskey wig's ears pricked up for the starving gunman, strike him pink, became strangely calm and forthright swear by all his lads personal that the thorn tree of Sheol might ramify up his sheelfin to looks a point lax, but he would go good to him sometime, marks my word fort, for a chip off the old flint. In the Nixtian glossary which purveys aporiac roots for the posteriorious tongues, that is not language at any sense of the word, and one might fairly go and kiss his sprogs as failed to certify whether the war trophy alluded at some lives earlier that was something like a jug to what a cocktable, and remarking in languidoliri, seemingly much more highly pleased than tongue could tell at this opening of a lifetime, and the foretaste of Dunbank Pearl-mothers, and the boy to wash down which he would feed to himself, and the ruled cow at Talagat, and then at Good Woman at Ring's End, and after her into Conway's Inn at Blackrock, and first of all, cursed be all where appetite would keenest be at, funeral fair or fun fain real, Adam and Eve's in Quainty Street, by the grace of Gammy Queen Tail to her will and testament. You stunning little South Downer, I'd know you anywhere, Declanny. Let me truthfully tell you, in or out of the Lexington of life, and who the hell else, be you a blanched patch on the bonny part, go ball, I've struck this daylight dilate night of nights, by golly my hat. You have some bully German grit, Sundowner. He spud in his Faust accent, he toped his raw beast pardon, he poked his pick, a tip is a tap, and he tucked his friend's leave, and with French hen or the port liff o' William of haste and leisure's about to continue that the queer mixture exchange the packs and embrace, or pogue puxy as practice between brothers of the same breast. Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Allen-a-la-la-wall, and having ratified before the god of the day their Torgan truce, which belittlers have small called the treatying to cognac, turning his fence Meninal straight in the direction of Moscow's, he first got rid of the few Mitz Millers and Hurushoes, and levanted off with tubular jubilance at a bull's run over the Asbach bridge, spitting his teeth on Ruths with the 7 and 4 in Danigeld and their Hummel Hulbat or other uncertain weapon of lignum vitae, but so evermore Rumsmat of a toboggan poop picked up to keep some crow-plucking appointment with some rival Rialtos anywheres between Peerage and the Little Home, while this poor Delaney, who they left along with the Confederate fender behind, and who, albeit balls buffed here, bore up wonderfully wonder all of it, with a whole number of plum-sized contusiums, plus Asala bruised coccyx all over him, reported the occurrence in the best way he could to the flabbergaze of the whole lab, giving the paddy banners the military salute. As for his ex-Ilses, the O'Daffy, in justifiable hope that, in the Nobilorium man review of the hugely satisfactory conclusium of their negotiations, and the Jugglemonkshire agreement then derivative, some lotion or fermentation of poppy heads would be generously exhibited to the parts at the nearest watch-house in the Vicar Lane, the white ground of all his face all covered with Dignon Nally Red Cross non-fatal mammalian blood, as proof positive of the seriousness of his character, and that he was bleeding in self-defiance, stanch it, from the nostrils, lips, pavilion, and palate, while some of his hitter's hairs had been pulled off his nut's head by Colt, though otherwise his all-round health appeared to be middling along, as it proved most fortunate that not one of the 206 bones and 501 muscles in his torso was a whit the worse for her whacking. Now then, leaving clashing axe, brawn and muscle and brass made to oust earth and bone and rock crystal to wreck isinglass, but worming along gradually for our savings back towards Mother Waters, so many miles from Bank and Dublin Stone. Olympia ding even till the 11th dynasty to reach that 30 end Hambalaf, and to question of bonies unlawfully obtaining a pierced paraflame and a claptrap fire guard, there crops out the still more salient point of the politish leanings and town pursuits of our phobia. El Dondi Duni at Niley, may his ship thicken stick in the bottle of the river and all his cruises stock locked in the burrow of the seas, who, when within the black of your toenail, sir, of being mistakenly ambushed by one of the Udavadas, and as close as made no matter, ma'am, to being KO'd off hard when the Huyugonu heckler with the Peter and the painter wanted to hold him, who consistently practising the first of the primary and imprescriptible liberties of the pacific subject by circulating, be British boys to your bellybone and chuck a chum a chance, alongst one of our unprohibited cemetery throughfarts, open to buggy and bike to whack Wellington Park Road, with the curb or Quaker's quack nostrum under his oxter and his alpenstock in his red hand, a highly commendable exercise, or number 2 of our acta legitimata plebea, on the brink, beware to balk at a man with his will, of taking place upon a public seat, to what bear by, but most easterly, but all goes west, of Blackpool bridges, as a public protest of natter-like vice, without intent to annoy either, being praised good thankfully for the wrath-bereaved ring-dove, and the fear-strung boa constrictor, and all the more right jolly well pleased which he was at having other people's weather. But, to return to the Atlantic and Phoenicia proper, as if that were not to be enough for anyone but a little headway, if any was made in solving the was not to be crime conundrum, when a child made in solving of man festy king of a family long and honourably associated with the tar and feather industries, who gave an address in the old Plomansk, mayor of the Saxons in the heart of the full-famed Foliant district, was subsequently hailed up at the Old Bailey on the calendars of Mars under an incompatibility framed indictment of both the counts, from each equinoxier's point of views, the one fellow's fetch being the other fellow's person, that is to see, flying cutshots out of his overalls and making fesses and modest his forces on the field, oh ye, when the prisoner, soaked in a methylated, appeared in dry dock, apparently realized, like Corsaisi's corduroy caricature, wearing, besides stains, rents, and patches, his fight shirt, straw braces, sou'wester, and a policeman's corkscrew trousers, all out of the true, as he had purposely torn up all his Simantrix bespokes in the manner time, disposing for his execution with all the flaws and sparse of the Royal Irish vocabulary, how the whole para Martin, trepizate suet, and all the sulphite of the copperers had fallen off him quite unaccountably like the crystallation of Almor, even while he was trying for to stick fire to himself. In fact, he was dripping as he found upon stripping for a pipkin of malt as he feared the cold ran. It was attempted by the crown PC robot to show the king Elhi's crowbar, once known as Meliki, impersonating a climbing boy, rub some pixes of any luvial peatsmore over his face, plucks and pusses with a claniturf as the best means of disguising himself, and was to the middle-white fair in a mudford of a Thursday, fetishes of Pier and Pool, under the ill-assumed names of Taking Fest and Rabvok, picked by him and Anthony out of a telephone book, allegedly with a pedigree pig unlicensed and a hyacinth. They were on that sea by the plain of 999 years, and they never cried crack or creased from regular paddlewick until that they landed there too, and a trifling selves, amidst camel and ass, greybeard and suckling, priest and pauper, mocked matron and merry meg, into the middle of the mudstorm, the gathering, convened by the Irish agricultural and preposterous organisations, to help Irish Muck to look his brother Dane in the feet, and attended thanks to Larry by large numbers of Christies and Jews totems, top sight of the deluge was distinctly of a scathery kind when the Ballybrecon he could get no good of. After the cock of the walk-in through a few fancy fort means into the doggy wag, the pikey later selling the gentleman right pair, because she, Francie's sister, that is to say, who ate a whole side of his, the animal's sty, on a struggle street, Key stad Troya, in order to pay off his lick 6 double dunes 15 arrears of his, the villains not the Rambler's rent. Chapter 1.4 Finnegans Wake. James Joyce.